All right. Hey guys. All right. So this is part 2. If you didn't see part 1 of this collective message, there is a free link right there in the description box. And so let's jump back in. The video was getting a little bit long and it wasn't going to finish processing. So hi everybody. So sorry I had to bounce out of part 1 so fast. Violet, Robin, hi babes. So we left it on a cliffhanger and I was like, there's no way we can do a quick wrap up here. We're going to have to do part 2. Because this Seven of Swords is a very interesting card. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have to see part 1 first, and then you'll be all caught up. But this Seven of Swords is less about like lies and more about all the things that weren't, all the gaps that hadn't been filled in. And what I'm thinking is, because it does seem like, I mean, we got this King of Swords who is ready to reach out to a Queen of Pentacles. And we know that he had that huge drama with a Karmic, right? That's what part 1 was telling us about. But as he's reaching out or trying to figure out, when do I reach out? It's not even a matter of if he will. We know that he will. We saw it here. This says, and I think that we could get into some gray area, but part of what he may want to say to that Queen of Pentacles is, what appears to be lies can be lies through not omission. Let me just say there was so much more that was not. Maybe there were things he didn't understand in the past about his own, like how to get out of whatever he was dealing with a Karmic, or he didn't know how to explain before to the Queen of Pentacles about his Karmic. Let me ask, what are the hieroglyphs indicating? The hieroglyphs to me are the things that you have to decipher. Wendy T, thank you guys so much. I'm sorry to be so rude and bounce out of that other one so fast. Thanks for being here, you guys. Lots of love. I'm trying to work with the flow of YouTube right now, and we got some hurdles for me to have to get over lately. So bear with me, guys. I'll do my best. But we got a Knight of Cups. We've got the Four of Pentacles, and we've got the World card. I mean, I'm asking about what are the hieroglyphs, right? Because this should be a card of like lies, running away. But instead, this card says, hang on, there's a lot of things that either it's very hard to decipher, it's hard to explain, it's hard to lay out. And I'm like, well, then give me some understanding. How do I decipher the hieroglyphs? What is it? Because it's all about what he wants to say. And this is like 8 of Wands. I want to come in kind of like a meteorite out of the night sky. And we see the paint palette, which tells us there's so many layers to this story about what he needs to say. We saw that 6 of Cups, which is, all this cracked pottery of the soulmate card, but wanting to come back together against a backdrop of rain and lightning and thunder. This has been a very troubled connection between himself and the Queen of Pentacles, and even his attempt to return to her. It's like he's thinking this might not work, but he's got to try because things are different now. So let me get to the things that seem like lies in the past and explain. Knight of Cups. The song my heart sang was for you. Okay, the song was about you, Queen of Pentacles. Like this is how he's trying to explain. There was stuff that was very true that I felt, because cups are all about emotions. My emotions were all real. Yet, a bunch of things that I held back about the reality of what energy of what I was dealing with, even though it was like, I feel like he was more in love, or things were blossoming more and more with the way he felt about that Queen of Pentacles. But the underlying truth was, it's dawning on me more and more, there's nothing that I can do here to open up and share until I can share everything with the Queen of Pentacles. Because I won't be able to make it all make sense if there are pieces of information that I'm keeping withheld. So I have to be done completely with the Queen of Swords in the reverse, my Karmic, so that I'm having a new life, and then I can reveal all. Okay, so I'm going digging, because you said you're done now, you wrapped it up, then let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's see, what were you holding back? What was the big secret? What was the big, I can't tell you until it's all over? We have got an 8 of Cups. We've got a 2 of Cups sideways. We've got the 8 of Swords upright. Okay, so on one hand, he's saying the big secret here was for me to walk away. I was treading very carefully. I don't know if somebody had, okay, not somebody, His karmic, that Queen of Swords, might have been somebody that he had to try to keep balance with. We see the yin yang in the middle, but we have all these storms, and then we have all these lily pads. I don't know if, because this is a card of walking away, right? The Eight of Cups. For him to walk away from a previous relationship, it was like, I don't know if there was many attempts made to walk away. And it's like the mood could shift. Maybe somebody was dealing with, the Queen of Swords was, emotionally like sometimes a storm, sometimes placid, sometimes amenable to the idea of them parting ways, and then other times not. Particularly like, well, if we're going to part ways, fine, but not if you're going to go be happy with someone else kind of thing. I'm going to intentionally break your otherwise peace and make it hell. Like we see, that I do feel like somebody got very vindictive. Now, maybe she had a reason to be. I don't really know why that would have been a secret, unless it was the ebb and flow of emotions. And it's like, I don't want to just sit around and talk about how my ex is a total villain. That's going to make me sound like I'm, like, oh, it's not my fault. It's all the ex. But in truth, maybe this ex could have made a lot of problems for them. Maybe they're like, I didn't want to explain that, especially if they know that I've fallen for you, Queen of Pentacles, they could be particularly vicious. But on the other hand, I don't want to tell you that. There's something here, Prince of Wands. Okay, so could have brought up the question mark of cheating, of being, less than faithful, of being somebody that was, a runaround. It might have also made him look like that's what he was trying to do, if he was trying to still build something with the Queen of Pentacles while tiptoeing on eggshells around an ex who, if she caught wind of the fact that he would be maybe having a happily ever after with the Queen of Pentacles, she would maybe already assume, oh, you're going to go off and get married to somebody else and be happy. Well, let me make sure that I break that happy little plan you've got. Look, I do think that perhaps their ex had an arsenal of ways to, it feels like their emotions changed on a dime. Yes, we can part ways amicably unless I think that you're going to be happy elsewhere, in which case I'll make it a nightmare for you. And I think if he was trying to still, like be anything in the Queen of Pentacles life while trying to end things with a karmic, because he's tiptoeing on eggshells and trying to keep the karmic happy more so than deal with the Queen of Pentacles, he would have looked like a player to the Queen of Pentacles, if that makes sense. Now, we could say, why were you dealing with the Queen of Pentacles at all if you weren't done with a karmic? We could say that. Let's just ask the hard questions. Six of Swords. He said, well, I had moved on from the karmic and I was trying to rebuild my life. So how did the karmic get their talons back in you? Seven of Wands. I don't know if they created a big, we got fireworks here, and Seven of Wands is blockages, and it's how we overcome blockages. And once again, we have a roller coaster. Every time we see this karmic, we do see roller coaster, which I always think of as emotions. We see the stormy seas, which again, I think of as emotions. So it could very well be that the karmic either liked to puppet and play games, or if we go back to part one, you remember we saw what I said. It was like, God, there was such a huge drama. And I said that because this Five of Pentacles card with the karmic, that Queen of Swords in the reverse, it's in front of a movie theater house. And I was like, okay, so somebody made big drama that wasn't even true. I will say this, in all fairness, this King of Swords does seem like they were dealing with an exceptionally difficult person. Somebody that would, you can be done with somebody and be moving on, but they can still make huge fireworks, huge problems. And depending on how far away, I mean, if you've been an ex with somebody for 15 years, you may not be getting the phone call. If you've only separated from somebody from 3 months, 6 months, you could very well still be getting that phone call because you're still on all of their, like there's a connections, even if you supposedly have moved on. So I'm thinking in this storyline is just describing the difficulties of fully detaching, especially when one person doesn't want to detach or is being a bit erratic. Do we want to just say anything on behalf of that karmic? Because I don't ever like to paint a character as like so one-dimensional, but on behalf of the karmic, we have the Lover's card, which again is a card of choice, but it can be a card that's fairly changeable. This might have been somebody who's like, look, I don't want you leaving until I find somebody else that I want to pick. It could be something along those lines. We have the Fool, and standing on either side of this chasm, I don't know, the karmic, I think, wasn't ready to let somebody else move on fully unless they had something else to move on to, some leap in a new direction for themselves. You're not done till I said I'm done with you. It might have been a power struggle. It might have been like they need to, or someone else to latch on to. They're looking for happiness. This doesn't say they're erratic, but let's say, again, go back to the concept that it's hard to end relationships and really be over something. Maybe that karmic was like, some days, fine, we can let it go. And then other days it's like, why don't we fight for this? Maybe they weren't so erratic and just trying to be rude and upsetting. Maybe they were feeling those mixed emotions, but it was like, until I meet somebody else where I can say, okay, this is what I want more than I want you. I mean, maybe a karmic says that they're in a stuck cycle, and she came out as a Queen of Swords in the reverse. So we definitely had her spiraling on one thought process instead of getting attached to some new idea and saying, oh, I want this more, so now I can forget about you and let you go. That's what I would say this was. I think that karmic didn't have a lot of self-awareness, that they were in a cycle of, I won't let you go, I can't let you go, I still don't have anything else in my life that I want more. So although I'm mad at you, don't really want you, can say we'll let go, but then I change my mind, and then I get mad if I think you're moving on because now I feel hurt and almost a sense of desperation because I haven't found anything yet for me. And I almost think that is maybe what was going on, which again, I think is very relatable. Like, I'm not vilifying that karmic, but it does say that they needed to meet somebody else. So hang on, did the karmic meet somebody else? 9 of Wands, actually. The karmic might have started to do some deeper healing. They might have started to say, this is no good. I'm miserable. I'm freaking miserable. I'm mad all the time at this King of Swords. We're trying to separate, but then it's not working. Where is this really coming from? So maybe the karmic has done some work on themselves. King of Swords, how is it that you feel like now things are done between you and the karmic? Princess of Wands, 5 of Swords. He's saying, look, it still ended bitter. It did. But I'm actually able to go. In fact, maybe things got real ugly between him and a karmic. I mean, it could have gotten real, real ugly. And it kept, getting to the point where it's like, no. We don't speak anymore. We have mediators. We don't even sit down in the same room. But finally, thank God. She could have pulled some stunts that might have been a little out of character even for a karmic. She could have done some stuff to, that roller coaster ride. She could have made some, like out of character, anybody who's ever been hurt knows you can act in stupid ways sometimes. Maybe she made a scene and it's like, and that was documented. And then she made another scene and that was documented. And it's like, it's never worth it to be so hurt or so upset over a relationship that we let it push us into behavior that's like, this is not even the way I behave. I don't yell, in Target, that's not who I am. But, 5-year-olds have temper tantrums in a public place. Sometimes full-grown adults do too, because really we're only 5 on the inside. I don't know. I'm kind of saying that all of this actually contributed, though, to not only the closure between the King of Swords and his karmic Queen of Swords, but it also might have helped her to start to say, this is not who I want to be. This is ridiculous. All I want is to actually move on in my life and be happy too. And now she's moving on. So, I mean, it might have worked to his advantage because that might have been, like the things that needed to happen for there to be like, it's obvious now. We've got some problems. We are detaching. There's a reason that I'm not going to be called up anymore to go and assist her when she's yelling or having a meltdown, because she doesn't actually want to be with me. She just doesn't want me to move on. Like that seems to be what the frustration was, right? Don't leave until I'm done. Don't go until I'm done. That's really what was at the heart of this between him and his karmic, from what I can see. And that's, again, I think it's super relatable. I think it's, it's love, it's hurt, it's wanting something that you don't actually want, but not knowing how to let it go. I just think that I have a lot of compassion for both the karmic and maybe compassion for the entire murky situation. Because I think it's relatable. And now letting that go, it's like, thank God, now we've moved on. I will say this, it looks like it's less about the way he handled it and more about the fact that, like things have smoothed out over on his end. So let's return to the story, the original story between him and that Queen of Pentacles. But I do think that karmic storyline, the back story, was kind of important to explore on this one, especially if we're doing a two-parter here. Okay, so final message here as far as the situation between him and a Queen of Pentacles. Remember, the Queen of Pentacles also developed that sense of self to say, I'm not ever going to be sucked into like a third party. I'm good enough to be the only party. I don't think he ever tried to put her into a third party. If anything, we can see now all that backstory. I did not know we'd get so much backstory on what was going on with him and an ex, but now we can see that whole situation. And I don't think he was ever trying to like hurt the Queen of Pentacles or disrespect her. But between the two of them, they would have to have a brand new beginning, and very well could. She may see things very differently because he is willing to explain this entire thing. But he is saying, I want a different outcome. But let me at least explain to you everything that happened with those hieroglyphs. That was the story of the hieroglyphs, by the way, all that drawn out stuff that we just talked about. And then if you still want to leave and not talk to me anymore, I get it, Queen of Pentacles. But let me first tell you everything. Look, I think that the Queen of Pentacles is like, I knew that there was more to the story. I don't think she ever fully believed that he was just trying to put her in a third party and cheat. I think it was just, there's so much unknowns. She's going to have a big decision to make. That Queen of Pentacles, after hearing the entirety of this story, having some things confirmed that she kind of suspected, I think it's going to be kind of good though, because she's going to come around full circle. We do have this Action of Cups. If she still has emotion for this person, I see her still moving toward him. But she's got to think about it first. What do I need to do? He's told me this whole story, or will be telling me this whole story. Yes, it's my choice as to whether or not I want to deal with him, because there was a lot that I didn't know in the past. Do I still want to see where this thing could go? I would say she does. 10 of Wands, 7 of Wands, but slowly. We'll start fresh, we'll start new, but see, I deal with everybody different now. I don't just let you into my life or even into my house. I would date you like you're a brand new person. I would see how I build trust with you. I still have some walls. Those walls, not still. I've built the right kind of walls. I don't just give my heart to anybody. I don't give my trust to anybody. I get to know if we're compatible, if I like what you're bringing in. Okay. All right, you guys, once again, I have to exit out of this video because I just let it get too long. Sorry, I'm talking so much and don't get a chance to say goodbye. Lots of love to you guys. Dev, I love you. That's so nice. I agree with you. Give the karmic a hug. Absolutely. Lots of love, you guys. I'll see you again a little bit later. Bye, Linda.